2017, as well as a Foxy representative to SAFOG. Sir has chaired various conferences at national as well as international level. Sir has been the president of IMS in the year 2010 and vice president Foxy in 2007. Sir has also served as the past president of Ahmedabad Obs-Gynec Society and has been on the editorial board of various journals. Not only this, but Sir is also actively involved in the social service as well as has been associated with various voluntary organizations in his city in order to help the people from the lower socioeconomic society. So I welcome you, sir, and thank you once again for accepting our invitation to be a panelist for the session. We also have Dr. Manish Pandya, who is the professor and HOD Scientific Research Institute. Sir actually has CPS recognized seats under him, and he has been also academically associated with the Surendranagar Medical College, and he has students getting trained under him on a daily basis for past more than 15 to 16 years. Sir has been actually recognized at various platforms, and the most recent one is the IESRF Commendable Editor-in-Chief Award, which he received in the year 2021. Sir has also received the Gujarat Gynec Excellence Award by Foxy in 2020 and has been awarded as the Dynamic Indian of the Millennium by KG Foundation. Sir has multiple publications and presentations to his credit. Multiple books by JP Publication. He has authored various chapters in the postgraduate series by BI Publication. He has also written many chapters in Elsevier Publication as well as in the advanced ART textbooks. Sir has presented more than 538 presentations at national as well as international conference, and I think this introduction would actually do injustice to the amount of work that sir has done. And I would like to mention here special thanks to Dr. Manish Pandya, because he had taken the additional responsibility of not only being the panelist of the panel discussion, but also taking the additional responsibility of moderating the session. Just wanted to inform you that we also had Dr. Nitin Raithatta, Associate Professor from Pramukh Swami Medical College, who was going to moderate the session for today. However, due to some medical emergency, he wasn't able to join us. But Dr. Manish Pandya stepped up and he accepted our request at the last moment. And I think he has a very fantastic presentation and cases prepared for us for today's session. So thank you very much, Dr. Pandya, and welcome once again. I would now take this opportunity to invite and welcome our third panelist, Dr. Shashank Shekhar. He is the additional professor in the OBGYN department, AIMS Jodhpur. Sir also has the additional fellowship of IGCS Travel Fellowship in Gynec Oncology from the University College Hospital, London. Sir has special expertise in gynecological oncology, minimal invasive gynecology, and he is a robotic console surgeon. Sir has also been awarded and recognized at various forums. He is the faculty trainer and for vocational teaching and training mission to Mongolia by Rotary International in the year 2017. He has also been awarded the IGCS Travel Fellowship in 2016, and Sir has received the Harold A. Kamenetsky Prize paper in the year 2013 for publishing the best research article by a non-US researcher in Chicago in 2014. Sir has been a reviewer of various obs and gynecology journals nationally as well as internationally, and Sir has more than 25 publications which have been cited at more than 140 articles to his credit. Sir has also authored a chapter in a practical guide to third trimester of pregnancy and puerperium. So I welcome you, sir. And without taking much of a time, I would now request Dr. Manish Pandya to take over the session and take us through his interesting presentation.
Thank you very much, madam. And thanks a lot for allowing me and stepping up as a moderator. I must add 1 degree into my credit, that is LMF, last minute faculty. and I must bow to Dr. Atul Munshi that he had given me opportunity to become a last minute faculty in CG Saraya CME in 2009 at Delhi, and that was a prestigious CME for gynecology. And sir has given me the opportunity, and I am thanking you, sir, because on that time my wife was also accompanying me, and my third book was releasing in that conference. and I had given presentation in ASCOG. So thanking you, sir. And now just I am sharing my presentation. My screen is seen, madam. You can see my screen.
Yes.
So we are,
Yeah.
yes. Now we are able to see
Yes.
the screen, sir. Yes.
First slide is there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, madam. Okay. Thanking you. Just rotating the screen, and I'm just okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, Pfizer, and welcome to Pfizer CME. This is some introduction madam has already given. Thank you, madam. You are kind enough to give me this opportunity, and I am very much thankful. As I already say, Atul sir has given me the degree of MD and has given me the degree of LMF, last minute faculty. The moment child is born, mother is also born. She is there, mother is something new, said by Rajnishji. Another beautiful thing Rajnishji has said, that how beautifully everything is arranged by Almighty. That as soon as a child enters the world, it finds mother ready to take care of it. Father may be there somewhere else moving here and there, but mother is always there. So with the blessings of mother of mine and so many women to whom I had given or we had given motherhood, 3 books written by me is recommended by reading material in RCOG. These are 2 books of Atlas of Fetal Echocardiography, gone for 2nd edition. Latest is Technique of IVF Made Has Easy, also gone for 2nd edition. And I am editor-in-chief of 2 journal, Indian Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecological Research and Open Access Journal in Gynecology. And this is the latest award I got from Innovative Education and Scientific Research Foundation, Commendable Editor-in-Chief. Today we are going to discuss something regarding primary amenorrhea, and I am moderating the session. First 20 minutes there will be talk of primary amenorrhea, and then we will do the case-based discussion on this. Whenever you say anything primary amenorrhea, first we will think what is the definition of primary amenorrhea. Primary amenorrhea is diagnosed if the absence of menstruation by the age of 14 years, in absence of growth or development of secondary sexual characteristics. Secondly, no menstruation by the age of 16 with or without growth or development of secondary sexual characteristics. Here SSC is much most important, that if SSC is there, we have to think of some another thing, and there is a very good tender classification that I will show you in subsequent slide. Nowadays everything is goes by SD ratio. So there is a very good definition by SD ratio that if there is a pubertal delay by more than 2.5 standard deviation later than the mean, means there is no breast development by the age of 13, absence of menarche by the age of 15, and abnormally slow pace. Mean duration from the onset of puberty to onset menarche is 2.4 plus or minus 1.1 years. This is also called a primary amenorrhea. What will the classification of primary amenorrhea? Everybody knows it goes from hyper-hypo, hypo-hypo, or eugonadotrophic. What we mean by hyper-hypo means all the gonadotropins FSH and LH are of high value. So this will go in favor of primary gonadal failure. Hypo-hypo means all this FSH and LH are of less than 5 international unit. That means hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. This is HPOUX, is primary hypothalamic pituitary dysfunction. Eugonadotropic means if you have got FSH and LH are of normal range, normal HPOX, so maybe because of anatomical or ovulation dysfunction. What is the common etiology of primary amenorrhea? You see 50% is chunk goes to chromosomal abnormality. 20% hypothalamic hypogonadism, 15% is for Mullerian agenesis, transverse vaginal septum and imperforated hymen only for 5%, but this patient usually come in your OPD in emergency. Pituitary disease 5% and other androgen insensitivity, congenital adrenal hyperplasia and polycystic ovarian disease. This is a classification given in gynecological textbook in 1981. What we mean by hypogonadotropic hypogonadism? So many times it is a constitutional delay. So we have to just ask the history. What is the definition of history? Is study of past in light of presence to have good future. In Bible there is a one word written that give thou ears. Listen them carefully. And 90% of the findings you will get from this history. If she is short stature, It is a diagnosis of exclusion. Isolated gonadotrophin deficiency, that is a Calamine syndrome. Usually comes in 1 into 50,000 female. Usually they are complaining of anosmia. And if you see, sorry, okay, no problem. I have to go. Sorry for this disturbance. Okay. Next slide. Okay, hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. It is a Calamine syndrome. Then structural lesion tumor, craniopharyngioma, or sometimes chronic illness. Chronic illness may be of anorexia nervosa, maybe of bulimia. Anorexia means hypereating, maybe of stress, maybe of exercise, or maybe she is coming on long fasting. And functional hypothalamic amenorrhea because of undernutrition, intense exercise, and stress. If there is a eugonadotropic, means all gonadotropins are normal, 15% count for Mullerian agenesis, 5% is for transverse vaginal system, and primary disease, pituitary disease 5%, androgen hypersensitivity, and polycystic ovarian disease. There is a very good quick rules to remember. If there is primary amenorrhea, she has got no breast, means no or low estrogen. If FSH and LH both are low, when it is a hypothalamic or pituitary origin. If both are more, then it is the ovarian origin. No uterus means either Mullerian agenesis or pseudo hermaphroditism, 46XY. This is a very good classification of primary amenorrhea: without uterus, without breast, with breast. Without uterus, with breast, category 2. With uterus, without breast, category 1. With breast, without uterus, category 2. And with breast, with uterus, category 4. Means everything is normal, we have to dig out something. So category 1 is breast absent and uterus present. Think of low estrogen and check FSH. What are the possibilities? If there is a high FSH, patient has got hypergonadotropic gonadism. They are come with chromosomal abnormality like Turner syndrome, 46X abnormal X deletion, might be mosaicism or pure excess or 46XS or Perrault syndrome, or 17 alpha hydroxylase deficiency, that is 46XS. When breast is absent but uterus is present. Yes, breast absent and uterus present. And then think of low estrogen and check FSH. C for CNS hypothalamic pituitary disorder. If there is a low FSH, previously there is a high FSH, low FSH, hypogonadotropic. Once there is hypogonadotropic, look for CNS lesion. Inadequate GnRH, think of Calamine syndrome or isolated gonadotropic insufficiency. If we look it like algorithm wise, when breast is absent but uterus is present, go for serum FSH. If it is low, then it is hypo. Go for CT scan. If it is normal, then non-prolactin secreting tumor or CNS. If there is high, pituitary adenoma. If FSH is high, there is a hypo. Measure the blood pressure. If it is normal, go for karyotype, and you can the battery of diseases which has a chromosomal abnormality. If blood pressure is high, think of congenital adrenal hyperplasia, that is 17 alpha hydroxylase deficiency. Category 2, breast present, uterus absent. Think of estrogen and macrophage inhibiting factor, check for karyotype. These four scientists, Meyer, Rokitansky, Kushner, Hauser. Why this name is given? Because this is the designed by 4 person, that this syndrome 46XS, vaginal agenesis and no uterus caused by random birth defect at 6 to 7 weeks of gestation. Some abnormality is there on the signal of paramesonephric and mesonephric duct, and they will have dot Mullerian anomaly. Second is androgen hypersensitivity syndrome, that is 46XY. Cells are not receptive to testosterone, but patient has intra-abdominal testes and no uterus or vagina. And these are the patients susceptible for cancer in this gonad. So we have to remove this gonad with the consent of the patient, because usually testes should lie outside the abdomen because it doesn't bear 37 degree centigrade temperature. So whenever there is undescended testes or testes in abdomen, we have to remove it. So for category 2, breast present but uterus is absent. Look for karyotyping. See for testosterone. Karyotype 46XS, testosterone is normal. There is congenital absence of uterus, also known as MRKH, Mayer-Rokitansky-Kushner-Hauser syndrome. 46XY, blood pressure is high, then think of androgen insensitivity and testicular feminization. Category 3, breast is present, uterus is absent. This is very rare, very rare. This is the hypothetical situation. Think of low estrogen and macrophage inhibiting factor, check for karyotype. Even though literature has designed 4 different categories, 70-20 desmolase deficiency, that is 46XY, 17 alpha hydroxylase deficiency 46XY, pure XY PGD or Swyer syndrome, and agonadism. There is no gonad. The breast is present and uterus is absent. Category 4, normal, breast is present, uterus is also present, but she is not menstruating. Think of high estrogen and less diagnosis of macrophage inhibiting factor. So there is less cause of chromosomal abnormality. And usually this type of cases we have to evaluate like secondary amenorrhea. What we have to do? HPOU axis, hypothalamo pituitary ovarian uterine axis. So think of hypothalamic cause, pituitary cause, ovarian cause and uterine cause. And lastly we have to see for outflow tract obstruction. Last category, breast present, uterus patient by flow chart. C for prolactin. If prolactin is normal, then think of HPOU uterine axis and lastly outflow tract obstruction. If prolactin is high, think of pituitary lesion, C for sella turcica, C for pituitary adenoma, microadenoma, macroadenoma, and this end you can go for intranasal route and you can remove it and patient will be benefited. Diagnostic facility is by MRI, and if there is adenoma you can go through the intranasal septum, just break the septum and scoop out that adenoma and you can treat the patient very well and she will be relieved of primary amenorrhea. So how we evaluate the patient of primary amenorrhea? Again, history, study of past in light of presence to have good future. Ask them, go for physical examination to evaluate primary amenorrhea. Most important thing, she should pass SSC to go in HSC, that higher secondary grade. She must have secondary sexual characteristic present. If secondary characteristics are not present, then measure FSH and LH. If FSH and LH are low, it is hypo, think of CNS disorder. If FSH and LH both are high, there is hypo, C for karyotype, C for gonadal failure. If patient has got secondary sexual characteristics are present, first and foremost thing is go for very good ultrasound. If you see uterus is absent or abnormal or small bud, go for karyotype. If karyotype is 46XY, there is the androgen insensitivity syndrome and check the testosterone also. 46XX, check she has got Mullerian agenesis and most common is MRKH, Mayer-Rokitansky syndrome. If uterus is present, normal, everything is fine, then think outflow tract obstruction. If it is there, see for imperforated hymen or transverse vaginal septum. If no, everything is fine, then ask for history of stress, exercise, anorexia nervosa or bulimia anorexia, means hypereating. Step-wise approach for the diagnosis of primary amenorrhea. First step, history and examination. Most important thing, don't forget to take the pregnancy test. So nowadays it is very common that we can see a very young lady becoming pregnant because of the knowledge they are gathering from this mobile and gadgets and internet. So do pregnancy test. If it is positive, then think of intrauterine or ectopic pregnancy. Again, if pregnancy test is negative, see for FSH and LH, estrogen, prolactin, TSH, and go for pelvic ultrasound. If abnormal TSH is there, then do T3, T4, free T3, T4 and see whether it is a hyperthyroid or hypothyroid and treat accordingly. You can use carbamazepine. If pregnancy is there, you can use PTU or otherwise you can give thyroxine. Abnormal prolactin, go for cranial image. If there is a prolactinoma, then you have to remove it. Uterus is present, yes. Low FSH, constitutional delay. Normal FSH and LH, consider outflow obstruction. High means primary ovarian failure, go for karyotype. Uterus is absent, 46XS Mullerian agenesis, 46XY androgen sensitive. You can see there are so many repeating of the same thing, but you have to hammer, you have to think that this is the causes for primary amenorrhea. This is a very good last slide for flow chart of history, blood test, BMI, exclude pregnancy. If FSH is low, hypothalamic, prolactin is high, C for pituitary, FSH is more, ovarian and fragile X syndrome, equivocal or eugenic, uterus is present, outflow tract obstruction, uterus is absent, go for karyotype. Differential diagnosis of primary amenorrhea. Anatomical abnormality of the genetic syndrome, imperforate hyphen and transverse septum. Hypergonadotropic means follicle stimulating hormone more than 30. You have to think of gonadal agenesis, 46XS and gonadal failure. Hypo, luteinizing hormone is very less. Think of constitutional delay, isolated gonad deficiency. It is associated with midline defect, that is Calamine syndrome, independent of associated factor. This is a Prader-Willi syndrome, Lawrence-Moon-Bredet syndrome, and many other rare syndromes. And it is also associated with multiple hormone deficiency. Neoplasm of hypothalamic pituitary areas are craniopharyngiomas, pituitary adenomas, and think of other lesions. Now, madam, we are going for case discussion of primary amenorrhea, but I am not able to see everybody's face. So, how should I carry out this panel discussion, madam?
We are here. We can see your face.
Here, sir.
Okay. So except me, I am not watching myself because my screen is full. So just hypothetically, you can answer. Because I am not watching anybody's face, sir.
Normally, Prabhu is not never seen. So you are Prabhu.
Thank you.
God is not never seen.
Thank
Other
you.
people are seen.
Thank you. So, table conference, and Dr. Komal, you can also participate because those all are the simple cases, and you had also taken very good pain in preparing this webinar. So,
You also can answer, Manish.
Yeah.
You can also answer.
Thank you, sir. So, first case is 17-year female with primary amenorrhea, because this is a webinar of primary amenorrhea. She has got normal pubertal development, normal health, no family history of delayed puberty. So everybody in family has got a regular period, not in athletics, does well in school. She is not on any medicine. Okay, this is the primary history. On physical examination, she is thin young woman, 10% of ideal birth weight, normal genitalia, no galactaria, tenor stage 4 means breast, axillary hair, pubic hair, everything is gone good. We had also done pregnancy test and serum beta HCG, it is also negative. Prolactin, FS and TH, no. So, Munshi sir, what do you think? What will be the cause?
First thing I like to say is amenorrhea is not a disease.
Yes.
It's a symptom.
It's a symptom.
So that is one thing you have to go. That you have to go ahead with it. Now, when there is a history of this type of things, there must be something wrong with the axis, pituitary ovarian hypothalamic axis.
HPOU axis.
Yes, that you have to think of. There are certain, as you mentioned so many times, familial history might be there. There might be history of late menarche also. That can also be said.
And so now this is the picture of a patient. You can see. Patient were very much concerned with her eating habits. She is very much good in education, but she is not good in eating. So very low fat intake and calories. You can see the cachexic body.
Shashank, you can take over.
Dr. Shashank.
Can you? Yeah, I would like to. There's a very important message for the audience in this case.
Yes,
Can we go back to the first slide, sir?
Yes, sir. Absolutely fine. Yeah.
So if what you mean by normal pubertal development is probably you're talking about the secondary sexual character.
That is a tenor stage.
So that means from the history you can say the ovaries are there and they're functioning.
They are
They're functioning, then I think they've got a FSH drive. For some reason, it's stopped. Okay, and then there is no family history of delayed puberty. Okay,
No,
now
nothing.
there is a very some catchy thing from the examination. She's got next examination, sir.
Yeah.
She's a thin young woman. And that's the phrase, that's the finding that you should focus on, because she's a thin young woman. For puberty to achieve, at least certain amount of fat, they say 25 to 30% body fat should be there, because
Yes,
the
sir.
leptin is involved in the initiation of puberty. And I would simply ask what are her eating habits. So I think she is suffering from anorexia nervosa, as the picture showed. So all you need to do is send her to a psychiatric counseling. You don't need to put her on any medication as of
No
now.
medication.
She has to achieve the BMI of at least 19. Till then, it's going to solve it. So you are not going to give her treatment. You're going to refer her to a psychologist.
In our country, it is not only the anorexia nervosa, it is the diet which is not sufficient for her. The poverty is one of the cause. So that also you have to keep in mind.
So
There are people
sir,
just remove the face of this foreign lady and put a face of our Indian slumdog millionaire. So
yes.
sir, this is very striking feature, that ganarchy. Before adding to the menarchy, ganarchy should be there. Gonad should get the signal that now
Correct.
she should menstruate. So this is a typical case of hypothalamic amenorrhea, and this is
Shashank is rightly said, unless there is sufficient amount of BMI in fat, ovaries are not going to function.
So the ganarchy will not be there.
So anorexia is a very extreme eating disorder where people are so conscious of their appearance, they would actually they would eat and they would put finger or they would do something and they will puke out. So they will throw out.
Yeah,
so
it's a psychological thing. 90%
so
of that might be anorexia, but 10% in our country, you have to think of this also.
And sir has rightly said, patient should be referred for evaluation of eating disorder. So either they are not eating properly, or they are not taking the good amount of fat in food. So at least it should read at least 19 to 20 BMI. Then naturally, just we have to counsel them. No medication is required. See, there is a chance of normal menstruation if patient takes very good adequate calories. And not sir anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa has also got the same effect. Hyper caloric, very good obesity, they are also has got hypothalamic amenorrhea. Third thing, the person is doing exercise, too much of vigorous exercise also gives hypothalamic amenorrhea. And person who is
extreme case of PCOD,
extreme case of PCOD, person who was on extreme stress. And I had seen, because we are belong to the Jain family, so we have got so many Mahasatijis, and they are doing fast for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and ultimately they are amenorrheic in very young age because of this not taking good food. So food has got also importance to initiate the ganarchy. Then there will be a menarchy. Then she will be getting the regular periods. Any comments from sir, Atul sir?
Yeah, there is a terminology called REDS. REDS is called relative energy deficiency in sports.
Yes,
so
yes.
The women who are ballet dancers, who are athletes, and who work out strenuously, who are spending a lot of energy in activities. So what happens is a lot of energy is spent per kg. So the body gets a little energy for its other functions. So that's called relative energy deficiency in sports. Well, West people are, they are, because this concept is still coming up in West. It is very well recognized. It says there, it is for us to also to recognize it. So those who are, as you mentioned, those who indulge in extreme strenuous exercises, ballet dancers have a amenorrhea rate of up to 60 to 65% of the ballet dancers will be,
because they have to move on the toes. They have to move on the toes. So
and their figure is also important. They cannot become too much obese, so try to remain down. So nutrition has taken a complete turn. And there was a time when nutrition was everything. Then a pendulum has swing.
Marathon runners, 65% may be having this amenorrhea. I'm not saying primary amenorrhea. It depends on when the woman starts indulging in these activities. It not necessarily, it may present as a secondary amenorrhea. It's not necessarily.
And nowadays, sir, because of the gym culture, because when I was young, still I am young, but there is no single gym in Surendranagar. Now we have got 20 gyms. So everybody is health conscious and taking the protein powder and steroid tablets to make the muscles. They don't know how bad they are affecting their hormonal system. So thank you very much, sir. Now we will move
Sir, at this juncture, I would just like to ask one question to all the panelists. There is something known as a female athletes triad. So, for the benefit of the audience, if you could share some, throw some light on what exactly is a part of when we are looking at the differential diagnosis of primary amenorrhea. So, what is this female athletes triad?
Shashank sir, it is to you.
I'm not very sure. One is amenorrhea, second is osteoporosis, I think, and probably there is also urinary incontinence in female athletes.
Etiology is same as he has mentioned because of various things, and the outcome or the pathology will be things. Etiopathology will be there.
So these are the three things which affects the athletes, which is known as female. I'm not sure. You may
About
check, but that's
urinary
what comes
incontinence, we
to
are
my
not
mind.
sure. Other two will be there.
No, it is there in 1/3 of the female
Yeah, yeah.
athletes do have urinary incontinence. There is no doubt about that. I'm just in the context of whether it is part of that triad or not.
Triad on. That is what I'm telling.
Nearly 1/3 have urinary incontinence,
Yes,
and they
yes,
have
that's right.
osteoporosis also.
Yeah, that's
Because there is
natural.
what happens is when you spend a lot of energy, then it disrupts the LH pulsatility. When
Yes,
LH
sir.
pulsatility is disrupted, so the HPO axis is disrupted. So ovulation will not occur, hypoestrogenism will occur. So
And
and because of
hyperestrogenism will cause
hypoestrogenemia causes loss of bone mineral
loss of bone
density.
material.
And
So-
urinary incontinence probably because of hypoestrogenism, because estrogen receptors are present in the urothelium around the
Everywhere, from hair to
continent,
skin, everywhere.
So could be.
And secondly, the stress part. They are always there to win something. So that stress is also going to occur, and that is also that too much of stress can also lead to secondary, primary or secondary.
Anything would you like to add, Dr. Komal? If you know
No,
something.
I think good to go, sir. Good to go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we will move on to the case 2. It is a 17-year-old nulliparous adolescent female complained that she has got not yet started the menses. She denies of weight loss or excessive exercise. Because of the previous case, we know that we have to ask this also. Each her sister achieved menarche by 13 years of age, so there is no constitutional delay or no family history. The patient mother recalled to her doctor that mentioning her daughter has got missing right kidney on X-ray film. She is 5'6" in height, tall, weight 140 pounds, so very good BMI. Her blood pressure is 110/60, so there is no increase in blood pressure. Her thyroid gland is also normal and palpable. She has got Steiner stage 4 breast development and female external genitalia. She has got Steiner stage 4 axillary and pubic hair, and there is no skin lesion. Sir.
Diagnosis.
First is to rule out pregnancy. In this
Okay.
case, is first. Yes, because
Yes,
it is 17 years old, and we got most of the people, they don't like to examine this patient.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That
sir.
is one
And
part.
she has got very good height, very good
Yes.
breast. And,
So what we do is we take urine pregnancy test without the knowledge of the mother or the child, because people do not like to have. So we ask the person to pass urine, and that test is done somewhere else.
Okay. Then
I
second
would
step is, yes, sir.
I would like to disagree on that, sir. I think we should take patients' wishes. We should be very honest with them. We should ask.
No, no, sir.
We ask the patient, not mother or something. So somebody who comes with them, sometimes she comes with a friend, she comes with the other thing.
In that
we
case,
have to
I
ask,
think
take the confidence of the patient.
we can
ask them also, is there any relations, whether she's working somewhere, whether she's doing, and then we go for that. Because
I
so
think
many times,
I don't know.
Yes,
Okay, I would stop it here, and then okay, please
no
go
problem, because
no, you can have your own thing. What do you want to say? Please don't.
I think honesty is always, we should be asking them straightforward, because it means it is relevant to the condition. It may be helpful. If we miss something, it may not be good for her. So if we can straight away ask in front of the mother, or because 17, I don't know legally, we can ask her alone that is she sexually active or not. And if still you think that we can't ask, these are very sensitive questions in our society. Of course, people are not very open about it. Instead of hiding the test, we can simply take blood sample, send it for beta HCG. It's not an emergency. It's not an emergency. 2 or 3 days, and that the reports is there for them to also say, and it will be, so it can be part of the, you need not say you need not hide any test.
No, we are not hiding
interpretation will
anything.
be.
Only thing how to present, that is important. See, we are practicing
Yeah.
for last 40 years.
So
We have
I
seen
find
various
that
types of people.
sometimes when I find I cannot talk to this, I cannot ask straight away these questions,
No, I
sensitive
don't
and
say no.
embarrassing questions. So I will say I will rather send a beta SCG rather than asking for a urine and doing a
But why
HCG.
not simple urine test?
I think, sir, I
Why
believe
not
it's a time that we should be very transparent and honest with the patients.
No, we
Very
said we are
straightforward.
transparent.
We should be sensitive.
Once you get the test
Once,
positive, we tell them there and there only. What do you say, doctor?
um,
No,
Dr.
sir,
Pandya, what do you say?
so final quote is that it should be individualized. Sir is practicing since last 20 years, so sir has so many bitter experience also. Even I am practicing since 25 years, and if you ask Dr. Shashank that whether you slept with somebody or you got some relation, first thing she is denying always, and that is the
That's all
first
right.
human.
We can
That is
document it,
that,
sir.
that is
We can document it.
you can document this. She denies.
Yes.
But once you put the
Denies.
probe, just I had put the probe, you just put the probe and you can see there is a beautiful baby is moving inside.
Hmm.
But here this is not the case. So we will do blood and urine investigation, and now we will go for sonography. So
This
this is
seems like
this is
MRKH. This is, if this is not pregnancy, then this is MRKH.
this is MRKH. You can't
It's
see
written
uterus
all over
over
it.
here, and there is one ovary is here, one ovary is there, and we also this is a bladder which is full, and we had done PR also, because this is our system that if in a young girl, if we don't find anything, we'll go for per rectal examination, and this is also allowed, and we can sometimes do per rectal sonography also if small birds are there. But this is a pakka case of MRKH, sir. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So this is a Mullerian vaginal agenesis. What is the next step? You can go for serum testosterone and karyotype.
That will be just adding to your diagnosis. But I
Adding to
think
your
Yes.
karyotype is
Diagnosis
must,
already been made,
because
yes.
karyotype is must. I used to believe that we don't need to do a karyotype, but I think it should be done, because the other differential would be androgen insensitivity syndrome.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, yes.
So now this
Whether it's
case is
XS,
for
XO,
discussion.
or XY.
Because
Okay.
it has got management implications, because if it
Yes,
is
sir.
XY AIS, you have to remove gonads. As far
Gonads,
as management is concerned, we will be doing, in both cases, we will be doing vaginoplasty for
Vaginoplasty.
sexual function. But
Yeah.
in additionally in AIS, you need to remove ovaries,
gonads.
the gonads.
Gonads.
And to be
Possibility
very
of
sure,
malignancy.
although Dr. Pandey, I'm sure in your hands, you will be very sure that this is, looking on ultrasound, this is ovary. There is no doubt that this can't
That
be
is ovary,
tested.
typical ovary.
But for to be very sure that we should do a karyotype. That's the message I want to send.
Yeah,
Now, sir, next step.
there can be ovotestis also. You have to remove that one.
Yes, exactly.
Sir, now just for the sake of this audience, at this 17 year of age, Atul sir and Shashank sir, would you like to go for vaginoplasty?
Not at this age, sir.
No,
Not
normally
really.
when they
Normally,
go for
so-
marriage or they are ready
Yeah.
for marriage, that's the time.
usual,
So
because
when
I
they want to be sexually active, whether it is by marriage or they want to be in a relationship, because I have done plenty of vaginoplasties, and believe me, I have done about 20 vaginoplasties laparoscopically in last
Yes.
2, 3, 4 years.
now it is very
And
good.
I have had Davidos. I did a lap vaginoplasty last week only.
Yes, sir.
And young girls who are like 20, 21, and they want to be in relationship, and they understand that that they can't have normal intercourse, so they do come. It's not necessarily in the context of marriage that they want to come. So whenever a woman
Wants to become a sexually active.
sexually active, you should do it.
Because I had seen that people are doing it.
Whose consent you will take, Shashank? Whose
If she's
consent you will
legally,
take?
if she's of legal age by Indian, she's 18 years and above,
Yeah.
and she has mental capacity to take a consent. She is competent to give a consent. Then it is her consent that I'm thinking about.
Fully.
If she parents come, well, I will encourage her to bring her parents, involve her
Yeah, that is
parents.
a- ideally,
for-
yes, because of future things.
encourage, but legally speaking, if she's 18 years or above and she has mental capacity to understand what it means, then as
You
per
will-
law, it is enough for
For
me.
the anesthesia
Because
part
I-
also, you will take consent. Anesthesia part also, you will take consent.
So, sir, any adult can, 18 years and above, adult can give consent for himself or herself. We should involve family. There is no denying in that. But
Yes.
just leave.
For our safety also, it is necessary to do. Sometimes he come with boyfriend or something.
Boyfriend,
Then
boyfriend.
also,
No. That's all
no,
right.
I'm just telling you. And he or she
No,
wants to
boyfriend
come.
has definitely. Sir.
And sir, Sasank sir, you had mentioned that you had done plenty and you had done laparoscopic Davidoff and skin vaginoplasty also.
No,
Now just
I have only experience of laparoscopic Davidoff's only, sir. I have not done McIndoe's. I
not
have done
McIndoe.
only laparoscopic.
Okay.
In our
So,
time, we used to do only vaginal or the
so
yeah,
so we are taking the skin from the thigh and we are doing
correct.
vaginoplasty. So I had done just 89 like that, and everybody is happy. But just I want to ask the question is that sometimes we have got when this graft was not that much thin, there are problem of hair growth in the vagina. So we had done
Yeah.
laser to remove that hair growth, but everybody is happy. Usually my custom is that, sir, I had done 89 vaginoplasty like this. So when she is going to marry, she will come before the 6 month that they should come with the probable husband, and because this is our society is not that
Yes,
much
yes.
advanced enough, so we will discuss them. She will not bear the child. This is only for copulation. We are giving you the good vaginal length so you can have a normal intercourse. She can't bury a child, and if you agree that we will do it, and we are keeping this patient for 7 days in our hospital. Then we are doing after 4 days we are doing daily dressing. Sometimes we have got find pus also, but at the end they will get very good vaginal graft, and it's very easy to dissect. If you are in plane, then you can have a very good vagina, and you can put graft with condom. Previously we are using the mold, but nowadays we are using the condom with condom with sponge, and then we are putting it, and then we are removing the condom after 7 days. And sir, what is your
Vagina is
experience of the vagina
Now
vagina?
share my experience, because we are on a scientific forum, our
Yeah, yeah.
inclinations and our preferences. Scientifically speaking, if somebody comes with MRKH, there is slight dimple. First,
Yeah.
the first modality which is recommended by all over world evidence-based is a vaginal
dilatation.
dilator. So we should
Yeah.
the message to the audience should be, and it's really successful. In about 3 to 6
Yes, so
months,
many
you will
times
have
it's
a good.
successful.
Yeah.
So many
So
times it's good, and because of
and
loose
I think,
cellular tissue is there, then
yeah,
it will
and
be
I
very
think
good
in
dilatation.
those girls who are young, just like this girl who is not about to start a relationship, or she is not going to get married soon, but there is no harm in having a vaginal dilatation, starting a vaginal dilatation at this age, because it only involves, so she can try
Only
it.
thing we'll have to continue the dilatation that she
Yeah, she
doesn't
has
get
to
emergency.
definitely.
Yeah,
And
that
then
is the
So that
important part.
Dr.
definitely,
Shashank,
definitely, sir.
but the
So
difficult thing is once we have achieved the good dilatation, then to keep that dilatation is
Yeah,
there, we have to use the mold. And unless and until
not
she
more
was
to
in a good,
dilator.
not
She
the more
can
dilator,
try
sir, dilator, metal
but
dilator.
dilators.
She can. You can teach her also how to
to,
Yes,
dilate.
to
yes.
so she has to go for daily dilatation or twice in
Daily,
a day,
alternate day, third day, once
daily
a week. That
alternate day.
depends.
Yeah, twice a week would suffice. It just, the
Yes,
idea is just to not allow the space to
keep it
contract
open.
back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep it open, keep it
So apart from that, my experience has been with
open. Davidoff.
laparoscopic vaginoplasty. I started that, and we have actually done it under as a project. We are following up the patients, and one thing that I want to highlight is we do a biopsy after about 1 year from the. So what we do is see
Because you had introduced the peritoneum.
the peritoneum is, we have lining, the lining of the vagina is the peritoneum, well, which is a
Yeah.
columnar
Yes.
epithelium. But what happens is 1 year down the line, when you even do a, it looks just like vagina. Nothing brings a change, and maybe just because it is in the place of the vagina, stimuli is there must be some expression of genes, and it turns over into the
Stratified squamous
stratified
epithelium.
squamous epithelium. We are doing it, and we have done biopsies, and it is showing, and it's not just me, there are so many papers before
Yes. Yes.
us where they have
Laparoscopy is
confirmed
now
that the
choice.
vaginal mucosa.
Choice,
Laparoscopy is
sir.
the choice of doing this nowadays.
The benefits are, it's quick, length can be as much as you want to have it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And the section is under vision. Only thing is, sometimes because of this peritoneal lining, some fluid may leak, or it may cause serious sometimes
Discharge.
and in those patients where there is renal anomalies, let's say there is a pelvic kidney,
Then
it
you have to be
becomes very
careful.
difficult to, then
Yeah.
we shouldn't be doing it, actually
Ureter
we
path will
shouldn't
be
be doing it.
distorted.
Yeah, we shouldn't be doing it. So
So there is a
I did
pelvic
once.
kidney. The pelvic kidney,
Yeah,
you are
it's
So
an
mesonephric duct and
contraindication.
paramesonephric duct, they run parallel. So abnormality of one will always lead to sometimes abnormality of the other. So you have to be careful about that part.
Otherwise, it's a very satisfying surgery. It's a straightforward surgery.
And a
If you're,
straightforward purse string suture you can take, and those
yeah, yeah,
ovaries
yeah,
are
yes,
very
sir, yes,
nearby. And sir, most important thing is by doing doido, it's very good that if they want to conceive. Now I have got patient to whom we had done vaginoplasty, but ovaries are there.
it
I have
becomes
got
easier to pick up.
pick up, and I had put embryo in mother, and now mother has also given birth to a baby, and they are very happy.
Okay, sir.
Because of this
There are
doido.
avenues which are opening up. Yes.
So it's a
Slightly,
very
yeah, ovaries do come slightly closer, so it becomes easier
slightly
for you
closer.
to pick up. Slightly closer.
Otherwise,
Otherwise,
they
most of the unmarked cases, they are so far away.
so far away.
Ovaries are so far away.
So many times,
And
if you want to do pickup, you have to do abdominal.
Laparoscopy.
yeah,
No laparoscopic. Sir, you put the sir. There is a very good tip that always use a vaginal probe to do abdominal pickup, because you are very versed with vaginal probe to do the needle piercing and that. So just locate the ovary and pierce. You do the pickup by the same way just you are doing in vagina. Just locate the ovary, because I had done this type of pickup so many times with a multiple fibroid, with severe endometriosis, ovary is stuck in the one pelvic wall, and it is not possible to go through vagina. I always go through abdominal route, put a vaginal probe, same biopsy guide, and same our pickup needle. You do pickup, and it's fantastic. There is no need to go for laparoscopic pickup in this type of patient, because of your ovarian controlled ovarian hyperstimulation, ovaries are just near to the intra-abdominal wall, and you just do pickup same as vaginal pickupping. Don't put probe in vagina, probe over the abdominal wall and do the same. So this is a tip, that those were difficult ovary for pickup, go abdominally, but don't use the abdominal probe, use the vaginal probe, because we are very versed with pickup in vaginal probe. Thank you very much, sir, for very good discussion in MRKH. Now, with permission of Atul sir, we are moving to next case, or any.
No, your permission. You are the boss now.
Okay, thank you, sir. This is a 17-year girl came to OPD with complaint of on and off pain. Sometimes need to come back from school in between due to severe pain. No period has started. What will be the first? Got SSC normal. Second, three sexual characteristics are normal. The girl age is 17.
she's got cyclical pain, what you're saying, and she's not
Yes.
menstruating. It's cryptomenorrhea.
Bleeding inside.
Cryptomenorrhea, first thing you get a abdominal ultrasound, and we should confirm it with an MRI before you put in a scope.
Even local examination, sometimes you can see the bulging.
Sorry, yes, sir. Yes, local examination is must.
So
First thing
per
is local
abdominal
examination.
we had done. There is a lump palpable from the pelvis,
Yes.
more on the left side with minimal tenderness. So this is the finding. Vitals are normal. No bulging of vagina. Okay.
That
So
means
cryptomenorrhea is not there, but she has got lump.
No,
See,
cryptomenorrhea is, she's got cyclical pain.
cyclical.
And you're saying that hymen is perforated. It's not imperforate. It could be a septum. It could be cervical agenesis. It could be a
Extra horn.
non-communicating horn. There could be so many
Yes.
things. So
Yes.
everything will give rise to cryptomenorrhea. Everything
Yes,
will give rise to
Rise to
cryptomenorrhea. Now,
Yeah. Now,
so
okay.
first you do an ultrasound, and if there is any doubt, and I would rather go for MRI, because they say it's 100% sensitive and specific.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Because so many
ultrasound
times,
and MRI.
because sir, you are absolutely right. We had done a sonography, and there is a lobulated mass with echogenic collection, irregular, right ovary is not visualized, small uterus deviated to left, endometrium is also normal, left ovary is not visualized. So we are thinking that she might have got chocolate cyst. Pain is increased in since last 4 to 5 cycles, and according to the patient, engagement for the girl was finalized. So now mother was under very anxiety that she will has to get the regular menses.
She's got a uterus which has got a normal endometrium.
Normal endometrium.
So why is she not menstruating then? There is no collection. And what about cervix? She's got there is cervical.
Cervix
is there a normal?
cervix is also there.
A cervix is also there. So
Uterus is small
still
and
she's not
heavy, small, and it is on the left side. But the endometrium which we are visualizing on the uterus is normal.
okay.
There must be a rudimentary horn or extra
So
horn.
you should get an MRI. I would suggest an MRI next,
Yes.
because before we do anything operative, we should get an MRI to be
But
very
we are
sure
in
where
a small
exactly is the.
center, so MRI facility is not available. So with the
Okay.
consent of patient, we had put a scope in, because laparoscopy is gold standard. There is a Pandora's box. You can peep in. All blood investigations are normal of this patient, and laparoscopy was done. There was a endometrioma-like structure, because on the sonography it says that it is a big thing with right TO mass and omental adhesion. On dissection, it was a hematoma in non-communicating horn of uterus. Material was drained, horn was removed, and with right hemetrosalpinx was also removed. And then we hope that next she will menstruate regularly. Sir, have you done any type of cases in your tenure?
Sir, I've done plenty of these. These are very straightforward cases of non-communicating horn. Laparoscopy is really, it's so makes the surgery and the recovery so good for them. They get relieved of all these symptoms. I've done cervical agenesis also. I've done laparoscopic uterovaginal anastomosis in about 3 or 4 cases. Not
Yes, sir.
many, but I've done laparoscopic uterovaginal anastomosis. The results have not been so good because
fixtures are there.
because it only out of 4 cases, I think we kept a silicone catheter in place, but it
Again,
2 or 3 out of 4, it just, when we removed the catheter, we called them for follow-up. It had again recurred. The canal or this anastomosis, actually it got stenosed. So
because what happens,
the important part is diagnosis and proper treatment at the first time, because I've seen cases people have been messed up, and then they will keep on doing, and then even endometriosis, which is not, that they will come up.
When I was a student, the only treatment for cervical agenesis was hysterectomy, and I've seen 2-3 hysterectomies in young girls, because otherwise it would mess up with their life, the quality of life, because so much pain,
especially they come from a very low socioeconomic group.
Yes, and eventually they will have endometriosis. They will have a chronic disease, for there will be no cure with you. So it's now that we have started thinking of doing a uterovaginal anastomosis, and then we have thought of, let's make it in minimally invasive. Let's
do it with
otherwise laparoscopy. So results, I don't know. I'm not aware of many long series or large case series. What is the result like? But my results have not been very satisfactory so far. Maybe the technique, I need to improve on that. Maybe more experience with these cases.
Cases in like this, they will start menstruating, because the other uterus and ovarian tubes are normal. Actually, this case was operated at our place. So Sujal's team has operated there.
Yes, sir. So I had also got one case. This is not a case of primary amenorrhea, but this we had reported in a twisted hydrosalpinx with contour X-ray HJ class 4 C0 V0 uterine anomaly was there, and patient has came with pain abdomen. She is a 18-year-old. All vitals are normal. If we had done ultrasound, and you can see on ultrasound there is a big collection of blood in this, and she has got very big hydrosalpinx. And because she is unmarried, we had managed with laparoscopy, and this is a laparoscopy finding, sir. There is a big collection over here, and this cornu is not menstruating. You can see very big hydrosalpinx were there. So we had removed that hydrosalpinx. Opposite side tube and ovaries are normal. Big hydrosalpinx is there, and she is menstruating, believe me. So she is not a case of primary amenorrhea. So we had removed that hydrosalpinx, and we had drained all this material from this, and their communication is maintained, and then she will menstruate regularly. So this is the final.
Extra horn, what did you do? Extra horn? Was there
Sir, extra horn was removed and sutured.
And one safety tip for the audience: when you are doing, there are 2 horns. One is communicating and one is non-communicating. And maybe you have picked it up early, where the size is not very different. I've my personal experience. It becomes, ye kaun se wala tha jo non-communicating. You should be very sure which horn you are removing. It's a safe.
So usually, sir, we are putting dilator from the cervix. We are just putting one dilator from the cervix, and we are seeing that which horn is communicating with the cervical canal, and then we are removing the horn which is non-communicating, because dilator is not passing. Sometimes it is difficult. We are putting the sound also. So after confirming that this is a communicating and correct horn, remove the extra horn.
So this is,
and then she is very happy.
Yeah, this
let
is
the
safety
patient.
tip. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm not aware. The people might have done mistake of removing the
Yes, sir. Yes,
communicating
sir.
horn.
It is possible. All
It is also
So,
possible
yeah.
because it is a Pandora's box, and once you are in laparoscopy,
injection of dye also might help you, which is open, which is
yes, sir. So tube testing is also very good, and you can see that if you cut the endometrium, you can see that this endometrium is blue. So don't cut that cornu and
no.
remove, because usually
That's
the
not too
tube
much, yes.
testing, yeah. So we can do. So this is a very good collection of case, and sir, so Sujal has also done beautiful job. And I had got one case of cervical stenosis. If time permits, we will talk on that. This is a case 5. 12-year-old school going complaining of colicky abdominal pain and required to return from school midway. So this is a very small girl, 12-year-old. 13-year, usually we are calling it as a menarche. So she has got no nausea, no vomiting, no urinary complaint. Site of lower abdominal pain increasing since last 2-3 days. She has got cyclical pain since last 2-3 months, but it is increasing since last 2-3 days, and she has to come home. Sir,
So it could be anything. Why are
it
we
could be
linking
anything.
it to the? It could be from appendicitis to ureteric stone to cystitis, because we are biased, like we are discussing amenorrhea only. We have not even
Always amenorrhea.
yeah,
So now,
because this
you
is
have to
not the age.
concentrate only on amenorrhea. So she has got past
So
history of similar episode of 3-4 times since last 6 to 8 months. She had never acute
Ectomenorrhea.
menarche, and you can see this is her ultrasound.
So in Pufford, I mean,
So this is a big uterus with collection. Okay, so it is not a hematometra, it is a hematometra
metacarpus.
colpus. You can see cervix is also dilated. You can see the 2 cervical tongues are there here and here. This is a cervix. It is also dilated. So is
I'm
the
sure
typical case of
this must be in porphyric hymen,
imperforate
Yes.
hymen.
or
And
yeah.
you can
So
see the beautiful bulging over there, and simple surgery. One tip: always put the head end up, otherwise there will be a fluid is going into the tube. So sometimes I had seen also hematometrocolpos salpinx. Tube is also filled with blood because they are annoying this thing for like since last 6 to 8 months, and all blood collection are there. So not only hematometrocolpos, but I had seen hematometrocolpos salpinx also. But it is very difficult that menstrual blood will go through that fimbrial end. So just give a head end elevated, put a crucial incision, and you can see all the things is going down. Just for the sake of knowledge, we are doing ultrasound of kidney also, that she has got no another anomaly. Any tip for this type of cases, sir?
Things should be kept up. Crucial incision is not just many times sufficient. It might
Yeah.
close down again. So you have to either you
So
cut it or
we have to take the stitch and make a new
yes.
hymen. So cruciate
Correct.
incision will be put to the labia minora, and we have to stitch with 30 or 40.
It's
And
blood. So infection is another part. You have to be
yeah,
very careful about the infection.
yes, sir. That's why we have to
Both
very
antibiotics
take
are there, but formerly when we used to do it, in fact, antibiotics were not very good. So you used to no touch, that technique, no drainage, nothing should be done. Let
nothing.
it come out by itself.
for
Now things are
drain,
completely changed.
just keep the patient mobile. Ask her to be mobile,
Yes,
because this
Yeah,
is
that's
just a
right.
stab incision in the. This is not painful. We have not done any big surgery.
Yeah, she
Patient
can
should not
move
have
about.
much
There's no harm.
pain.
we can move.
She should be
Yes.
mobile. She should be mobile.
And when she is mobile, all the
Natural drainage should be there.
natural drainage will be there. There is another case, sir. This is not a cervical stenosis case. This is a case with, you can see the very good blood collection. Cervix is also there. This is not a case of primary amenorrhea, but this is a pus collection. So pyometra, the same type of thing usually comes in perimenopausal woman. Here also we have to go for dilatation. Just for the completion of case series, I had put this. Previously it was a
Most of the time
hematometra.
it might be malignancy also.
Yeah,
Many
because
times
there
you
is,
have seen it is cervical malignancy or sometimes endometrial.
so
Pyometra is one of the conditions.
myometra is one of the condition, and it is very bad, and nowadays it's more coming. I had watching more of the patients of postmenopausal bleeding, postmenopausal cervical stenosis with pyometra. Recently one lady with 72 year of age comes with pyometra and malignancy up to the extent of metastasis in liver, and she died last week because the presentation of the patient comes very late. Usually they are ignoring this symptom. This thing might happen, but when they came to hospital, it will be very late.
Old ladies are most of neglected as far as their health is concerned.
And nobody is asking her what are her
Yes.
problems, and she is also not telling to anybody that I have got postmenopausal bleeding. And usually when they come to the hospital, the cases are gone. So all
Awareness and frequent screening.
awareness and counseling should
And
be there.
frequent screening, what we are calling them, call them for various screening, pap test and a mammography.
Sir, amenorrhea, sir.
Yes,
Amenorrhea. Because sir, amenorrhea, sir has told, we have to see for this secondary amenorrhea because we had delivered a mother when there is a marriage of her daughter, and she came with pen abdomen, and there is a 3 kg boys coming throughout the vagina. So the ignorance
this
is that
is
much.
very common. Patient after menopause, perimenopause, will go to endocrinologist. They will keep on giving treatment. But time comes that 5 months, 6 months, baby starts moving, and then they ultimately come to us.
Come to
That
us.
is also
This is also a sad part of story, but everybody should give them the proper guidance and examination. And sir has rightly mentioned that
any
you have to go
amenorrhea
for
pregnancy to be ruled out. Any
Yeah, if there is
amenorrhea
a-
pregnancy in childbearing period. That is the ultimate thing.
that is the
Whether
ultimate.
whether you ask directly, whether you ask indirectly, whether you do anything.
Whether you
I'm
go for
just telling my thing. Don't worry.
whether you go for urine pregnancy test or whether you go for beta hCG, the ultimate thing is we have to prove that whether she is pregnant or she is not pregnant. Last case, 16-year-old came to our OPD with pain in abdomen on and off, no history of menarche, lobulated mass felt in left midline. Midline lobulated mass is felt, labia is present, vagina is dimple is seen. We had done rectal examination, the mass is cystic, secondary sexual characteristics are normal. Sir.
Okay, so this is again seems like okay, secondary
Something
sexual.
informal.
First of all, whenever you are investigating, let for the sake of public, because we
Yes,
have
sir.
whenever we are dealing a case of primary amenorrhea, the first thing in history is we should go by the the chances that what could, as you had in one slide shown us, the various etiologies of primary amenorrhea. The number one is gonadal failure.
Yes,
Number
sir.
one is gonadal failure, whether it is Turner or whether it is because of some other reasons. So we should think, if gonadal failure is going to be there, we should think of secondary sexual characteristics. The first thing to be asked, assessed in history, although it will not be may not be very informative. You have to confirm on physical findings, but we should ask that whether other breast development is there, hip, axillary and pubic hair are there. So you have already told that secondary sexual characteristics are normal. That means ovaries are functioning. So if ovaries are functioning, we are left with either MRKH, uterus is not going to be, or obstruction, or uterus is not there, or uterus is not there, could be MRKH, could be AIS. Otherwise, there could be this one, maybe there might be obstruction to the outflow tract, it could be cryptomenorrhea. So moving to
There is a mass, that's the only thing.
So these are the possibilities in this case. I'll keep all the possibilities, MRKH, I'll keep AIS, I will keep outflow tract abnormalities.
So an ultrasound,
will be the
examination. She has got a lobulated mass, both ovaries are present, but we can't see the cervix. Vaginal dimple is there and there is no vagina. Vaginal agenesis.
Cervico-vaginal agenesis.
Cervical vaginal agenesis with
and uterus hematometra must be developed.
Uterus has got hematometra. So in this type of case, we had done vaginoplasty from lower end and abdominal drainage hematometra, and there was nothing like cervix was nothing like. There is only blind space. You can see uterus was like this only. So we had done. We had done incision over that, and we had put dilator, and according to that dilator, the cervical buds were identified, and we had sutured this cervical bud with the vagina, and we had put Foley's catheter for the drainage. I will show the pictures of this with this is a vaginal picture. This is case for discussion, sir. This is our abdominal. Yeah. So this is the picture. You can see Foley's bulb is there. The silicone bulb was there, and we had put Foley's catheter inside. This patient had
So
got
basically,
married also.
you did it in single setting, a machindo-vaginoplasty, and then you did
Mechidovaginoplasty
and then you did a utero-neo-vagino.
yes, new cervix formation. So neo-vaginal cervix formation. You can see
So
there is nothing like cervix. There's only
yeah,
simple uterus. Both cornu are there. Both tubes are normal. Both ovary is normal, and there is a big collection. So we had done we had removed the collection, and for the drainage we had put Foley's catheter.
yeah.
You can see this date is 7/5/2011. Okay, the same patient,
Utero-neo-vagino-anastomosis you have done.
neovaginoanastomosis, and
So you
in
have
my
done
life
two operations.
I had seen only one case is this
No,
type of case. And
okay.
sir,
So
you are
what is the result? What is the result?
so this is
Ultimate
on
follow up.
follow
What is the
up.
follow?
Ultimate 10/5 we had removed the catheter on 10th after 3 days because there is no collection coming from there. You can see very good endometrium. You can see that there is a very good vagina, and we had given mold to the patient for 3 months. She got married also, and then afterward we lost the follow-up. We have got follow-up up to 2015. She wants to bear the child, but sir has rightly mentioned she has got complaint of stricture. So we had done 2 times the cervical dilatation for the drainage of hematoma. After 2011 to 2015, she had not conceived up till then, up to
What about the
2015.
vagina part? Vaginal part.
Vaginal part was very good.
It was not doing-
I'll be concerned about the cervical part because it will usually become stenosed,
cervical-
and it will have a repeat.
We had done.
And that might be the cause of this repeated hematometria again because of the cervical
It will
stenosis.
have, and
Cervical
eventually she will have repeat hematometra, and she will have retrograde menstruation. Eventually the
Yeah, so-
endometriosis will develop.
Endometriosis will
And
develop, yes.
she is going to suffer for, I believe, though people are doing these, I was also attempted these, utero-vaginal anastomosis. I don't know how good the results are.
For
Long
me,
term.
Long-term
the
result we do
result
not
is not good. For me, I had done totally free for this patient because this was something new. But after doing this, I think we should not attempt this. And the old dictum that remove the in cervical stenosis, remove the uterus, and forget for the
Shashank
past.
has rightly said in these cases, endometriosis, long-term endometriosis suffering is likely to be there. So in this case,
Yes,
you have to take a decision which may not be in favor at that time. But ultimately,
I'm in a fix. I don't know what to do because
Yeah.
nowadays is offering a hysterectomy when there is an alternative operation, but we don't know the long-term results. Maybe it is
Correct.
related to the technique. Maybe in coming time there might be improvement in the technique. So
in
it's
that
a
time,
very
they may
difficult
not also
decision.
agree also.
Yeah,
Patient may not
they
also
may-
agree at that time.
Yeah. They may not agree until unless they have gone through a repeated hematometra drainages, repeated procedures,
repeated
chronic
process.
pain, and then eventually she might say, just I don't want to go further.
So many times they may not remain with you. They might go to somewhere else. Somebody else
So,
might.
Yes,
do.
sir. So thank you very much, sir, for this kind discussion. We have got only 7 minutes left. So this is a standard stage classification. And Dr. Komal, if you allow that, we will take the opinion of all the participants. There is a quiz for them.
Right, sir.
So
Sure.
there is a
So before we move on to the quiz, there is just one question by Dr. Nirmala regarding. She has asked question when we were discussing regarding the vaginoplasty technique. So she's asked role of oxidized cellulose polymer in place of partial skin graft.
Sir, madam, I had not used this. We are using with skin, and nowadays, Dr. Shashank sir has rightly mentioned that nowadays we are doing with laparoscopy, so there is no use of
Peritoneum
the
itself is
peritoneum. Peritoneum itself is the graft, and sir has rightly mentioned there is a meta analysis starting at 10 different places for conversion of columnar epithelium to stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinizing, because of some signal from the vagina. And this McIndoe's scaldoplasty, or Dovido's scaldoplasty or vaginoplasty is increasing, and people are doing it very easy, and it is vaginoplasty. That is the skin grafting
No,
vaginoplasty.
but our question is to use that material which has been used for.
I am
So
using
as such,
when we
sir,
are using the skin only.
okay.
When we had done it, we are using skin only, but this is the material we can use in Western world. They might be using this. but they've got very good
As
experience.
oxidized cellulose, if I remember, it's a barrier. I think it's a solid adhesion barrier. If I'm correct, it is used in those surgeries where you think the adhesions might develop.
Adhesions are
So
there.
it's a physical
Prevention,
barrier. So if
prevention
I'm
of
not
adhesions.
because so I don't know how why people I have no experience nor I have studied about it. What I know is it's used as a physical barrier for adhesion prevention. So maybe
Dr.
it
Komal,
doesn't
any
it
other
doesn't
questions
collapse.
on that?
No, sir. So maybe we can take up one or two quiz, and then I would encourage the audience to answer the quiz questions on the chat panel. They
Okay.
all the audience, they have the option of putting the responses in the Q&A section, and then maybe we can see if we get the responses from the audience. And then, sir, I would like you then to summarize the response to that question for the benefit of all.
Thank you, madam. So first question is, a 18-year-old Naripalus adolescent female complaining of not having started menses. Her breast development is tenor stage 5. She has got blind vaginal pouch and no cervix. Which of the following described? I will give you a count of 10. Third question, 19-year-old girl has primary amenorrhea, tenor stage 4 breast development and a pelvic on count of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Dr. Komal, anybody poking?
Yes. So, Dr. Beena has responded gonadal dysgenesis. Dr. S.P. Rimal has responded option A. Dr. P. Nirmala has responded Mullerian agenesis. Dr. Jayashri Chauhan says option A. Dr. Kunsang Dolma is saying option B.
So,
Dr.
madam, you
Khushbu
say the
Patel,
responses nowadays increasing.
yes. And Dr. Khushbu is saying androgen insensitivity.
Okay, see, what is the right answer? Right answer is androgen insensitivity. It is a okay, androgen insensitivity. Next question is popping. So congratulations, the first person who has answered androgen insensitivity.
Only one person has answered.
Only 1% has answered. Okay, thank you, thank you. Last, a 15-year-old adolescent female is brought into pediatrician due to absence of breast development and short stature. Her karyotype, which reveals 46XY. Which of the following is most likely diagnosis? Because you see, there are 2-3 diagnoses which just intermingle. Androgen insensitivity, gonadal dysgenesis, Kelemen syndrome, and testicular atrophy syndrome. This is the last question, madam. Come on,
I think I should be receiving, yes, I think I should be receiving the responses maybe in another few seconds.
Yes, we will count.
Yes,
One,
Dr. Anjuman Sheikh has mentioned answer B.
okay. Because the
Answer is ACBC.
ACBC.
There is something wrong with that.
Something wrong with that, because this is my
So you say one, first, second, third, fourth. You just say that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Name also. And
Dr. Vimal is saying gonadal dysgenesis. Dr. Beena is saying Kelemen syndrome. Dr. Khushbu is saying gonadal dysgenesis again. Dr. Jenil is saying A.
androgen insensitivity, because
Yes,
this question is just nearby. The diagnosis is gonadal dysgenesis, and particularly I want to talk something about the Sewer syndrome. It is a chromosomal number XY. Gonadal is testis. This genetic testis increasing chances of malignancy. 85% cases are idiopathic, and 50% cases because of mutation of SIOR gene. So thank you very much for all participation, and this is the ultimate, the end. Should be happy.
You made everybody happy.
To be happy is now.
Manish,
And thank you,
Manish,
sir.
you made everybody happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
last moment
And
comments.
yes.
Someone happy
And have a little heaven right here. So thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.
Thank
We'll be
you
in
so
touch.
much.
Shashank will be in
Dr.
touch.
Shashank.
There are quite a few people in Jodhpur, so we'll be in touch with that.
Sure, sir.
And
Nice
Jodhpur is
meeting
very good place, and when every time we are visiting Jodhpur, there is something.
I think Dr. Atul Munshi, your son had come long time back. I was here at that
Correct.
time. I think
Yeah,
2015. I
Sujan has
think.
come.
Yeah. I was there as a junior faculty at that time. We had just
And
opened
sure,
up, and
he is also
I
quite junior. He's not that senior as Manish Bhai.
Thank you.
So that was just the beginning of AIMS, and we were
Correct.
just two faculty, and we actually did a workshop on urogynecology.
That's good.
So 3 gynecologists had come from
Gujarat.
Gujarat.
So if there is something over here, we'll just call you there. Because he's doing periodical some workshops or camps.
So thank you,
Just
sir.
a couple
Just
of-
I'm stop sharing my slides, Dr. Komal.
Yes, thank you so much. I think this the entire last 1.5 hour has been really interesting, and thank you all the panelists. Thank you, Dr. Pandya, Dr. Shekhar, and Dr.
Thank you.
Munshi for taking us through the important nuances of the management of all different interesting cases of primary amenorrhea, and giving various safety tips as well as tips to make sure that the patients don't go into complications, and also tips on how to follow up of these patients. So thank you so much. And I also thank all the audience and the participants, the viewers who then started, answering all the questions. And thank you, Pandya, for keeping that MCQs to keep up the interest of the audience. We would now conclude this session, and we would keep meeting for more Gynecology Connections meeting. I would like to now again, finally thank all the faculties as well as all the viewers, and have a good day and take care and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
COVID
Thank
is still there. Everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Good night. Take care.